Hey team, it's Daniel again with Brazos Valley Boars and Varmits. So, like we talked about last time, I'm going to be getting my buddy Dustin to be helping me out with some of these videos. And so tonight is the gear review of the Bering Optics 35mm Hogster. This thing is amazing. It is great. I love it. I highly recommend this one. Now, I did get this from Medio Creek Thermal. Jonathan and I have been talking back and forth for a pretty good while, and he was saying that, hey, we need to start doing some gear reviews together. And I'm super excited about this because now instead of having to upfront all the money for my own stuff and just reviewing what I'm running myself, I actually get some other things to work with so I can help give my perspective on it and then give you a better overall perspective as I've been using several different things out there on the market. So none of this is free. In fact, I don't even have it with me anymore. I've already had to give it back. Went out on a hunt with it one night and had great results. But let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So the specs, I'm just going to pop those in right over here. I'm not going to rattle all those in because that's really boring. Let's get into actually talking about how it worked, what we liked about it, what we didn't. So when we first got this thing, one of the first things I recognized was that this was super light, and it felt really good in my hand, and the buttons obviously were very intuitive. I loved the layout. It was very simple. What was your thoughts on it when you first grabbed it, how it felt to you?
Absolutely the same thing.
Okay.
Very light. I love the weight, ergonomics of it. Everything felt just like it should in any kind of a scope. This particular scope was just fantastic in the hand. I feel like not only was it able to be a scope mounted on a rifle, but obviously could have been used as a spotting scope very easily. Yep. Unlike some of the larger end, higher end scopes.
Sure. You know, so then whenever I got it in, I took it and I went and, you know, took it outside, figured out how to put the DVR together with it, which was very simple, very easy to use, very easy to record with it. We're going to roll in some of that footage and talk about that also here in a little bit. I started off by recording my daughter. I'm going to roll that footage in here. She was only about 10 yards away from me, and you can see how with that focus ring, I was able to get that thing to where it's extremely clear up close. But now let me roll in some footage where I took this thing, got on the golf cart, went down the road a little bit, and we were looking at some cows, some houses, different things that are just all right there at the end of the road. And again, you got an adjustable focus knob on here so you can get this thing super tight, super clear, very beautiful, easy to record with that DVR. Simple. I loved it. So, moved on to the next phase, and we went into the side end. We got that thing sighted in, and it was really simple. It has a freeze frame function, almost identical to what Pulsar's does, if you're familiar with that. It's the same concept. Obviously, it works a little bit different in what you have to do into the buttons to get there, but ultimately, it's the exact same thing. And so that was simple, worked perfect. Read the owner's manual, do what it says, and it will work perfect for you the first time, just like it should. So, everything's looking great, super excited. We go out on a hunt, and this was a very large place that has some very thick wooded areas, and we have some very wide open areas. And because I'm still out, I'm just driving the golf cart, and then Dustin is actually running this scope on his rifle. And so this was your first time to actually get behind it at night and see what this thing can really do. What'd you think of it?
So I will let y'all know this, that the only other two scopes that I've seen at night were through a Pulsar XQ50, as well as Daniel, I borrowed his Trijicon 60mm IR Reap. And after looking through this little Hogster, I was very impressed.
Let me stop you there. You've looked through my Thermion XP50.
Thermion, that's fair.
Have you looked through my Helion?
No, I don't think I had at this point.
Okay, so Helion XP50. It's okay, and you've looked through Marcus's. Have you looked through Marcus's?
No, but I have looked through your core.
You looked through my Pulsar core.
Your core.
And did you look through my iRay?
Yes, I have seen through the
iRay MH25. no magnification, just 1x. Okay, so a few more than you gave yourself credit for.
You're right. You're
okay,
right.
so a few more than that. And Matt, has he got the same?
He's got an Apex,
but it's the same XQ50.
Correct.
Okay,
but that's prior to the update. So
Gotcha.
I have
Okay.
seen through quite a few different thermal scopes at night, and even went out on drives trying to identify different animals and see what I did and what I didn't like. I can tell y'all this, that after looking through all of these scopes, this Hogster is par none. This Hogster is absolutely fantastic. Image quality is just super clear. You cannot beat it. Now, where I have some problems is when you start to zoom in, 1,
Yep.
2, 3 times zoom, the image gets very pixelated. I feel like I'm in the movie Pixels.
Sure.
But other than that, you know, out at just regular zoom, it does everything it's supposed to. It's just as clear, if not clearer, than my Pulsar XQ50.
And so I'm going to be rolling in some footage right here over all this. And one problem that y'all all know, DVRs are notorious for taking an image and making it look not nearly as clear as it actually is. So there's quite a bit of degrading of the image on this DVR. But when looking through your Pulsar XQ50, so again 384 versus 384, it's a 50mm lens versus a 35mm lens, but this thing is it's there. It's almost there. Oh no, it's there. The clarity is just as beautiful. But now, like you just talked about, when you do mag up, and so you went from 384, now you're to 162, your Pulsar gets kind of blurry when it does that. This one goes pixels when it does that.
Correct.
And so it's a little bit of a change for you, but at the same time, you got to realize you're taking the 384 and you're cutting your pixels half this way and half that way, so you're only looking at a quarter of the pixels that you were earlier. So how far out do you feel like, if an animal was moving in its normal movement state, would you be able to identify something with this?
I feel like comfortably, and I'm talking 100% comfortably, 250, 300 yards, easy. Easy.
And I think you're being conservative on that.
At anything further than that, and that's at first glance. You
Sure,
know, you
sure.
watch a deer move for 5 or 6 seconds. If we're
it pops that head up, and it's easy to tell. It's not just some blob hanging out there. This thing has got really, really good quality.
It depends on time frame too. You know, I can sit through and look through a piece of junk scope, and after 20 minutes figure out, oh well, that's a deer. But
Sure.
but we're talking in less than 10 seconds. I feel like 250 to 300 yards at 0 mag, I could definitively identify an animal just like that. Now, if you gave me a little more time, even with the pixelated screen at 1, 2, 3 times zoom, 4 times zoom, I could definitely ID this guy out maybe within a minute, even less than that, max a minute. But you know, a lot of this thermal imaging stuff comes from knowing how animals move and what they actually look like at night.
Right.
And that's a huge part of it.
So let's transition right into that. You know, with your options out right now, and this is July 2020, you've got the Pulsar Core, which is about $1,900. Something I would highly recommend. Next up in what I've used that I would recommend would be the Pulsar Thermion XQ38. I actually haven't used that exact model, but I've used their XQ38s. They just put it in the Thermion platform and made some upgrades. I would still recommend it. That one's right at $3,300. This one is right at $27, a little bit under. It's like $26.75. So a little bit under $2,700. So it's a $500 jump to go up to the Pulsar XQ38, and I think that this is a beautiful place for this thermal. Sure, for $500 you are losing internal recording. Okay. For me, that's a huge thing. I love internal recording. I just feel like I gotta have it. most of your people don't feel that way. Your dad doesn't care about recording. The landowners that I hunt for don't care about recording. It's very few people that actually feel like they have to have it. And so if that's what you lost for $500, and you didn't really care about it, this is a really, really good option.
But let's talk about the gains that you get from that loss of $500. I've ran your Thermion XP50.
Yeah.
I have never touched an XQ38, but I would assume they're almost identical weight, size,
Sure.
the whole nine.
Sure.
Different processors, different cores, the whole nine. But what I can tell you is the difference between the XQ38 or even your XP50 and this little Hogster, size, weight, ergonomics, everything's great. You can't hold an XP50 or an XQ38 Thermion in your hand.
It's like a pirate scope.
Correct. It's definitely it's 13, 14 inches long versus this little Hogster, which is 6, 8 inches long. It's just not. It doesn't feel right. A Thermion is meant to be mounted on a rifle and left on that rifle, or moved from rifle to rifle. It's not one to be pulled off the rifle, used as a scanner, and then put back on that rifle. With this Hogster, I would feel very, very, very comfortable pulling it off, using it as a scanner, comfortable with it, identifying things out at certain distances, put it back on the rifle, and then take my shots if needed.
Well, and, you know, we during the sighting process, we took it off the rifle, put it back on, and the zero held great. So I'm a big advocate of testing that stuff out, so that way you know your gear works. This gear works.
It does.
So, got you on a hog.
Yes, sir.
How'd that go?
Image stupid clear. We were within 50 yards.
Did you focus this on the near one? I can't remember.
No, so I focused it on the near one, but then even scanning over to the ones, I could definitely still tell that they were hogs.
Okay.
Once I focused in on that hog that was close.
Did you focus in on that near one right before the shot? Or was that when it was
no.
further out?
When we were scanning, I focused on that one that was close enough.
Okay.
And then I scanned out and looked and saw that there were hogs out
I got
further
you.
out.
So we weren't completely clear on the focus when you took your shot.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
But everything was clear. Everything was great. I knew it was a pig. I knew what was out in the field.
Well, and there was deer in there too. And it was very easy to tell what were the hogs, what were the deer.
What was the deer, correct. Now, I didn't have any issues at all at that point. I squared up on the hog right where I wanted to take my shot. I took the shot.
Yeah.
Had a couple of rifle issues right after that second shot that was taken.
Yeah.
And
you need to clean your gun.
Don't we all? Thank you.
I'm gonna roll pictures in of that too. But the scope, that was a gun issue. After your second shot, your gun jammed.
The scope performed absolutely flawless.
Yep.
It didn't jump. It didn't freeze. It didn't do anything. I run a 308. Everything about it, there was no flash behind it. There was nothing. Everything was just absolutely flawless with the scope.
Yep. What is something that you wish was different with it? I mean, mind you, at the same time, it can't be everything. You're not buying a $5,000 thermal. Is there something that you just didn't like the way the buttons worked? You didn't like the way, anything?
The buttons are very ergonomical. I would not change anything about the buttons at all. There's no knob to have to turn with the second hand. The buttons is just a 3-button setup.
Yep.
Everything was great with that. The only thing I would change about this scope, if I absolutely had to change one thing, is when you started to zoom in on something, it wasn't as pixelated, because those pixelated squares become very distracting.
Right.
When you're zooming out that far. Now,
but at the same time, it feels like you'd have to buy $1,000 extra scope than you would to get that.
That's correct. Now, with the way it is, I would not change a single thing about it. Right. I would not. That thing is so great. It's so light, so lightweight.
Oh yeah.
I'd run it on any rifle I had, 22 up to 308.
Yeah.
You know, within 300 yards, I would feel very, very comfortable identifying and taking a shot at an animal that I wanted dead. Whether it be coyote, fox, hog, you name it. I don't care.
Well, all right, guys. So, again, I want to say that this scope was brought to us by Medio Creek Thermal. So very thankful that Jonathan allowed us to do this. Again, the only thing that we got for free was some time with this scope. Used all of our own ammo, all of our own guns. We did get some free hats. Awesome. Thank you. But we're not getting paid for any of this. This is just something that I'm doing for a guy who's saying, hey, I'll give you a chance to play with some more stuff. And I would highly recommend this as 2 awesome thumbs up for this scope. It did great. If anybody ever came out to hunt with me and they had one of these, I would have zero doubt that they would be able to do everything that they need to be able to do to have a great successful hunt. The
Everything and then some.
Absolutely. Go check him out at MTC Outdoors, Medio Creek Thermal Outdoors. He also has a Facebook page, Instagram, all those cool things. The thing that I really love about John is that this guy is going at this whole game with the approach of trying to figure out what he can do in customer service to be better than everybody else. And he is extremely available, extremely knowledgeable. You call this guy up and this guy can walk you through exactly what's going on. There was even once I had a question about one of these. I can't figure this one thing out. Boom, knew exactly what it was. All that, and that's the simplest, easiest stuff. Believe me, this guy is figuring out what he can do to make customer service the biggest thing that he's known for, because that's what separates him apart from so many other guys. So go over to his website, MTC Outdoors. That's where he's got all of his stuff that he has available. Or if you're looking for something, he may just not have put it up yet. Give him a telephone call, shoot him a text. Super available, super awesome. Thank you so much. And guys, if you are thinking about one of these, you're wanting one of them, buy with confidence. I feel super great about it. Again, it fits that spot somewhere between the Pulsar Core and the Pulsar XQ38, somewhere right in there. But that's where this thing's perfect.
I would even rank this thing at higher up, closer to the 38.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's not in the middle. It's right. It's up there. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. I hope that this helps y'all. I hope that y'all enjoy this. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more gear reviews through Medio Creek Thermal. And guys, keep being awesome. Bye.